If he already knew about the home and was already interested in it, he should have told the buyer that before he ever took them.
Welcome to season 2 of the Real Estate Replay. This season, we're opening up the co-host chair to agents, lenders, and other professionals across the country. These handpicked co-hosts will help us dissect stories told by sellers and buyers and help point out the good, the bad, the unethical, or perhaps illegal things that they experienced. We'll learn what to look for, what to avoid, and how to not get screwed when selling or buying. The Real Estate Replay is sponsored by Selling Later. Selling Later is the only consumer advocacy platform in real estate that lets you see when homes will be selling and search agent profiles to see how much they actually charge. Unlike the rest of the real estate industry, Selling Later cares about your data and refuses to sell it or share it with the industry. Learn more at sellinglater.com. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of your background?
Okay.
Just so people can get an idea of who's helping us out here.
Okay. Well, I'm Steve Frazier. I'm with Platinum Realty, LLC in Kansas City. Platinum is it's more of an independent brokerage that deals with more experienced agents. They don't hire beginners. So if you're a starting agent, go to KW or RE/MAX or somewhere else. And that's where I started. I started at KW. I don't have anything bad to say about KW. They're a great company. They train people. It's just I moved on to a place that doesn't take as much of my commission.
Right.
So, and I've been doing it. I've been licensed since 2010 in Missouri. A year later, I got Kansas. And then a couple of years ago, I got my license in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
And specifically in Oklahoma because I buy and flip houses down there, and I wanted to do that. And I'm also a licensed general contractor, which I got my contractor's license in 2017.
All right, here we go. So the title for today was The Buyer's Agent Bought Home from Under Me After Refusing to Make an Offer. It says, I randomly came across a home that just went up for sale, popped on a website to request a showing, and was lined up for the next evening. About 20 minutes after showing, I messaged the agent to make an offer. First, the 3% earnest money wasn't enough, and they would be offended by anything less than 20%, is what this agent told him. Then they wouldn't even look at an offer without proof of funds. And I said, well, I can send them my 401k, Roth, and other brokerage information over, which is more than plenty to cover the home. No, I was told it has to be cash in hand as stocks could lose their value. Okay, fine. I never heard of that before, but what do I know? So 72 hours later and a boatload of taxes and fees, I have a check in my hand. So I messaged him on the way to the bank. Oh, there was just another offer this morning, but I'll write a backup offer bid. So you're first in line if it falls through. Turns out through a friend at work, this buyer found out that his coworker, their parents were the ones that were selling the home. And it turns out that the agent that told him he didn't have enough money to put down was the one that actually put an offer in and got it accepted. So he said, is this something that's allowed to happen? And can I recoup my losses for penalties and the taxes of what he had to take out? I will add, he mentioned the couple was older and the home needed some work. This buyer was going to waive all contingencies except title. They also said it appears the agent offered around $10K less than what they were going to offer. He did not cash out his 401k, but he did cash out stocks from my understanding. And so my question to you is, if you tell your agent, hey, I want to make an offer and this is what I want to offer, and it's reasonable, they could probably push back, but can they totally talk you out of it and tell you they won't submit your offer?
There's a couple of things we don't know here. First of all, was the agent that they got in contact with the listing agent? And we know, I don't know what state this was in, so I don't know what their rules are. And like I said, I'm listed in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Things are totally different in Oklahoma than they are in Kansas and Missouri. So there's representation in Kansas and Missouri, but Oklahoma does not have representation. So it's kind of different. So it's hard to say. First of all, the way that agent treated the buyer was terrible.
Right.
He could have not treated the seller. He could be still doing right by the seller, and I can lay out that scenario here in a minute, how that works. If the agent was intending on writing an offer, first of all, I wouldn't do it. Even if I wanted the house more than anything in the world, if I took a buyer to that and if I was not representing the seller, I was only representing the buyer. And I went out to the property, even if I wanted that property, I would walk away from it.
Right.
Until that buyer was not interested in it.
Right. Right.
You have to make sure that the buyer, because your job is to look out for their interest. It's not for yours. Whatever happens in a transaction is not going to affect my life that much. The amount of commission it's not going to change my life, but it is going to change their life.
Right.
These people are going to move into this house. These people are going to live in this house. So whatever happens with the house to the client is going to change their life.
Right.
A little bit of commission I make on it, it's not going to change my life. It's going to feed my family for a little bit.
Right.
But I'll move on to the next one. That's not a big deal. So you have to look at it as you're representing the person who has the most to gain on it, not financially, but who it changes their life.
Right.
That's
right.
the way I look at it.
Right. Well, that's how it should be looked at, right? I mean, that's the position an agent's in.
Right. So ethically, if he already knew about the home and was already interested in it, he should have told the buyer that before he ever took them.
So if you want to make an offer on a home, okay, regardless of where it is, if it's a reasonable offer, like, can your agent just say like, no, or totally talk you out of it? Is it a red flag if they are, I guess is a better question.
Yeah, it's a red flag. Definitely a red flag. But I mean, if the agent doesn't want to write the offer, you can't force the agent to write the offer. He could just say, you need to get another agent to write your offer.
Right. Right.
But he should tell them up front why.
Right.
I mean, I've always told buyers, especially when they wanted to write a lowball offer, I said, look, I'll write an offer for $1 if that's what you want me to do. That's not going to get accepted. Do you want to waste both of our times, or do you want to make a reasonable offer?
Right.
And if you just want to tell me a verbal offer, as long as I tell that offer to the seller, even if it's verbal, to the selling agent, he or she has to present that offer.
Right.
Because we're required to present all offers as a listing agent. I don't think we're required to. We may be required to present all offers, even if we're a buyer's agent. So that's kind of a fine line right there.
Right. So if this agent didn't like it, he probably should have said, I'm not comfortable submitting that. If that was the problem, it doesn't sound like that was the problem though, but he should have said, you'll have to find a different agent to submit it. I don't want to do it. Right. Instead of telling him he needs more money, which leads me to my next question. What do most buyers put down in the current market? Or maybe we'll say now, or maybe if things are slowing a little bit back to normal, like what were people putting down in the normal market? Because this guy was telling him 20%.
It's kind of weird here in Kansas City. The earnest deposit was always just kind of, I'm trying to think of the word, but it was just kind of symbolic. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of times it's $500 or $1,000.
Okay.
You just write a $500 or $1,000 check, but then if it's a $300,000 or $400,000 house, you're going to put more down than that. But if you're talking about a $150,000 house, $1,000, I mean, they just want to know you're serious is all. If somebody's requiring a 20% deposit down, I'd get a little worried about that, mainly because it sounds to me like they're trying to figure out a way to keep a 20% deposit.
Right. Because there's chances that you might not get that back. I mean, depending on what you agree to.
There are sellers that do that.
Really?
Yeah.
That try to get it. I haven't heard of that before. So they'll want you to put down a lot, and then they'll make the deal fall through on purpose.
They figure out a way to make it your fault. It's happened.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, yeah. Okay. So 20% wasn't necessarily needed, in your opinion, in this situation. I mean, we don't know all the facts, but in general, in your market, 20% isn't like this standard thing that everyone needs to put down.
No, 20% is not anywhere close to standard, anywhere that I deal with. But it's weird because when I was trying to buy a house in Florida, and it was a rehab, and it was listed for $190,000. It was in pretty bad shape. they required me to put $5,000 down.
Right.
And to me, that was weird because we don't do that in Kansas City.
Right.
But the agent just told me, and, she was the listing agent. So I said, okay. And I did.
Right.
Which that's also a big no-no. One thing I would never do if I'm a buyer and I'm driving around and I see a house listed, don't call the agent on the sign.
Right.
Because even if it's mine.
Right. Right. Right.
Because if my name is on that sign, I represent the seller.
Right. Right.
So I can help you buy that house, but everything I do is for the benefit of the seller.
Right.
Keep in mind that I'm going to go into that transaction representing the seller,
right.
And you're going to be unrepresented in that transaction. Do you want to go up against me unrepresented?
I wouldn't, no.
Because I do this a lot.
Yeah, right, right, right. Yeah, I wonder too. I think there's a lot of conversations floating around about people that think that they can get commission or save commission if they just go to the listing agent. But like, you'd have to be very specific. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? To say like in your offer, right?
Since I'm an agent, I always will go to the listing agent. I will never use another agent in town.
Right.
Because first of all, most of them aren't as good as I feel like I am for my own interest. I'm not saying I'm by far the best agent. That's not what I meant. What I meant is that I don't feel like they can represent me any better than I can represent me. I will always call the listing agent. The first thing I tell them is, hey, I'm interested in a property. I want a referral fee on the buyer side.
Okay.
So I'll get like 50% referral fee on the buyer side.
Okay.
Because I don't really need their representation. I just want them to write it out.
Right. Right.
Because I'm not an agent in Florida. So if I'm buying a property in Florida, I want a 50% of the buy side.
Okay.
On that. And then I'll just reduce that off of the purchase price when I buy the property.
Okay.
But I would never recommend a buyer to call the agent on the sign.
Right. Right.
Because everybody needs professional representation in the transaction. And if I get a buyer that calls on my property, I'm probably going to refer them to another agent because I represent the seller.
Right.
So I'm going to refer them to another agent. I'm going to keep, I'll get a 25% referral fee. That agent is perfectly happy to take that because he didn't have to lead generate for that buyer.
Right.
So now he has a buyer that he didn't spend any money to get. And so he'll take 75% of his commission. That buyer is professionally represented. My seller is professionally represented, and everybody's on a level playing field in the transaction.
It's that word fiduciary duty, right? Look how that applies.
The only time I don't do that is when the buyer is an investor.
Okay.
And they don't need my representation.
Right.
And I always disclose to them up front. You realize, even if they're friends of mine, I always tell them, you realize you're unrepresented in this transaction.
Okay. So should an agent have to disclose that they're also putting an offer on the home?
Absolutely.
So the thing is, from what I could read, they didn't sign anything with this buyer agent yet.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Correct. Okay.
Doesn't matter. And the other thing is the agent should also disclose if he's submitting an offer for another buyer.
Oh, okay.
So let's say he's got Bob and Susie over here, and they want to submit an offer on the property. And then these two people that you're talking about want to submit an offer, and they're both using the same agent. Right. He needs to tell them because he has the ability to manipulate those offers. So his favorite one of those two gets,
right.
He can say, hey, this guy over here is offering more.
Right.
Or this guy, you got to,
who do you like better?
You got to be fair. That's right.
Right. Absolutely. So would this buyer have any recourse for at least the penalties or taxes he paid? I guess that's more of a legal question. I feel bad that I don't know how he went as far as to like cash out all that stock and get all that money in his hand and then nothing. So like 3 days or something went by when he did that.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck trying to get any of that back. First of all, I don't think that was a wise thing to do.
Right.
I don't think any logical person would have done that. I think I probably would have got another agent before I would have.
Like a second opinion. Right.
Or I would have just said, here's my offer, submit it.
Okay.
Submit my offer. I would be more forceful about submitting the offer.
Right. So for buyers that get pushback, if your offer is reasonable and your agent's giving you a hard time, just find another agent, basically, right?
Well,
Within reason.
I said that, and then I got to thinking about it, because if I was that second agent, I wouldn't touch it. And the reason is because the odds are I'm not going to get paid, because the other guy started the transaction.
Oh.
So you get into a commission deal there where I want to help somebody, but I do this for money.
Right. Right. It is your job. Right.
I want to get paid for what I do. So it's kind of dicey, but I think even as a buyer's agent, we're required to present all offers.
Right.
So, I mean, if a guy comes up to me and says and writes his offer down on a piece of drywall and hands it to me, I still have to submit that offer.
Right. Okay.
Now I have to follow it up with a written contract. It's not a good offer, because I've presented a lot of verbal offers.
Right.
And
any on wallpaper or anything, or just verbal offers?
Just verbal. I mean, you just call the other agent and say, hey, I got a buyer that wants to offer $100,000 on that house. Will that fly? Okay. And a lot of times they'll say, well, let me call my client, or my client's already instructed me to not accept anything under 140 or whatever. If a client has specifically instructed you not to present them with anything under X amount, you don't have to present anything under X amount. Okay. That's if the client tells the listing agent that. If the seller has instructed the listing agent that. Okay. Now that's different than saying if the seller says I won't take anything less than 130, that's not saying don't submit an offer. Got it. So you still have to submit an offer. Got it. You should be very leery on how that's worded before you, and I would want that in writing. Okay. If a seller's telling me not to submit any offers, I want them to write that down. Right. Well, I feel like that could come back to get you, right? Like if there may be. I want it in an email. I want it in something, Right. All right. So for this person who maybe we're not, we don't have all the details, but I think one thing that consumers aren't clear about is so if you feel like your agent didn't do the right thing, what are your steps to report this agent, or how can you at least make it known to protect other people in the process? Their local board of realtors would be the first place to go. And that's who I would file the complaint with to start with. Second is NAR, and I think you're just wasting your paper there. Third is the real estate commission of that state. Okay. Which those are interesting. That's the direction I would go. Okay. And what's the normal process time? I've never followed. I want to say there's a 30-day response time. Okay. I just took that not too long ago in an ethics course I was taking. Okay. But I don't remember exactly. Right. But in the quickest way possible would probably be to just leave a review. It would be my guess on your experience, right? I said that wrong, because the first thing I would probably do is call that agent's broker. Okay. So who that agent works for. Right. So if, and it's weird because in some places, all agents are called brokers. Like in Oklahoma, I'm a broker. I'm an agent, I'm a broker. Do you have your brokerage license? Everybody's called brokers. Right. But you have your brokerage license, right? Or no? No, I don't have a broker's license. I only have an agent license. But they call you a broker. Oh, that's weird. It's weird. Okay. And New York, I think everybody's called brokers. Oh, okay. But in Missouri, my boss is the broker. Okay, I got you. The guy that holds my license is the broker. So that's who I would call, because those guys don't like them. So they're going to probably call you in your office and say, hey, what's going on? What happened here? And I would probably feel pretty bad walking into my broker's office and telling them I bought a house out from under a buyer. Okay. So call the broker, talk to the local association, right? Local association. And then if all else fails, go to the state, because each state has their own board of 7. Is it 5 to 7? I just read a whole report from the Consumer Federation of America, how some of them are supposed to have consumer seats, but they're totally empty. And they're going to want you to go to mediation. They're going, because they want to keep everything out of court if they can possibly do it. So they're going to go to mediation first, and you're going to get ombudsman
I have
So
no
he's
idea
a
what that is.
negotiator.
Okay.
I had never heard that before either.
Okay.
So what he's going to do is he's going to sit down between you two and try to help you guys talk it out
Okay.
first. And then it goes through the complaint process
Okay.
after that.
Oh,
And I'm talking about Missouri and Kansas.
yeah. Yeah. I know every state's a little bit different. And that's hard
Right.
because, which is weird. Like and there's even in some states, like as at North Carolina, where you have to put down like the earnest money, but you also have to put down an additional percent of money that like goes to the seller regardless.
Right.
Which is insane because that's gone. Like if that falls through, like it's baffling to
Right,
me.
but say you put, and I can't remember what that was called, but I heard you talk about it, and I've heard a couple other agents talk about that.
Right.
The due diligence, is that what?
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
Okay, so let's say you put down a due diligence fee of $500, and you're trying to buy a house, and then you do an inspection, and let's say you pay $500 for the inspection. You decide you want the sewer inspected, so sewer line, so you end up with $750 in inspections, and then you pay $500 for an appraisal, and then the appraisal comes in low and you back out.
Right.
You lose the appraisal fee, you lose the inspection fee, and you lose your due diligence fee.
Right.
So
right.
you're out $1,500 or so as the buyer, and there wasn't anything you did wrong.
Right. Right. That's crazy. It's so expensive. Yeah. It's such an expensive process. I don't think you prepare yourself for that too, right? You just assume your offer is accepted and everything's going to work out, but it doesn't always work out that way.
There's one other thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah,
they were talking I read through the comments like you did on that situation, and the guy said, well, they ended up selling it to the agent for less than we were offering. And there's a scenario where an agent could do that and not harm the seller.
Okay.
So let's say it's a $200,000 house. And first of all, let's use example A where he was the listing agent. Okay, so a $200,000 house, let's say it's a 6% commission, there's $12,000 worth of commission there.
Right, right.
So if they offered 200,000 and he said, well, or let's say they offered 190, which was less than their asking price.
Right.
And the people said, and he was also interested in the house, but not at 200. Well, at 190, if I just take off my commission, which at that point would be, I don't know,
right,
whatever, be close to $12,000.
Right.
He says, if I just take off my commission, I'll buy it for cash and I'll close in 10 days. And these people did need a rush sale.
Right. Right.
Reading down through the comments, you could see where they had to sell.
Right. They were older too, right? I think.
Right.
Okay.
So they didn't want to hassle with everything. They didn't want to hassle with the buyer. They just wanted a clean sale fast. So he said, well, for that, I'll take it. That's fine, but he should have told the buyer.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I get that. I think the big issue is that the whole
so he could have bought the house for less money than they bought it for and not harmed the seller.
Right. So the seller still would have made the same, basically, is what you're saying.
Right. The seller could have netted the same or more.
Right. Right.
Maybe he didn't waive all the commission and said, well, how about if I just waive the buy side and all. So there's ways he could have negotiated that and made it work for the seller
on the seller side.
But it's still shady on the buy side.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome.
Well,
thank you for this. If I find more of these, do you want to help me dissect some of these?
Sure.
I don't have all the answers to this stuff. And I know, maybe go ahead.
I'd also be very happy to do one on referral platforms.
Oh yeah. Did I send you that article? Did I send you that?
I saw your one of the TikTok.
I don't know if it's behind a paywall. I can send it to you.
There's a reason why they exist.
Right. Which is, you might like this article because it talks about there's more agents than there are homes for sale. The
biggest problem is it's way too easy to get a real estate license.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And you've seen some of my comments and how I'm kind of down on the real estate industry.
Right. Right.
Because 85% of agents, and I say this over and over and over, 85% of agents have never read the contract they have you sign.
Right. Which is insane.
And there's no research backing me up for that.
Right.
But I can tell you why I know that.
Right.
Because I'm on like a dozen Facebook pages with realtors, and they get on there that are just realtor specific and nobody else is on there but realtors.
Right.
And they're asking questions that the answer's right in their contract.
Oh.
And it's like, did you read the contract? What happens if he wants to do that?
Right.
It's on line 762 of your contract.
Right.
It's right in the paper everybody signed.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so irritating that they're asking these questions that they should know.
Yeah. We can absolutely do that. Yeah. I'll send you the article. And it's not that I'm saying referral fees should never exist. It's just that there's no transparency whatsoever to consumers about what's actually happening. And really how they're making a ton of money off of commissions, where like everybody would probably be better off if agents and consumers were connecting directly rather than being pushed into these systems. And, and I know that some agents don't do referral platforms. I know a ton that don't because they don't need to. The concern is you've got the two biggest players in the game, Zillow and Realtor.com, now pushing these, and they have more money than God to put themselves in front of consumers before we're even ready to start looking at agents, right? So it's just, you can see where it's going. Want to share your experience with us? Drop by therealestatereplay.com and submit your story or even ask us a question.